Today, we're diving into a really complex topic that kind of flips the script on our usual understanding of gender equality. It's something people are starting to call the male malaise. We're going to look at why it's happening and how a new way of thinking, called new gender economics, might offer a path forward.
So let's just jump right in with a big question. When we have these important conversations about gender equality, who are we forgetting? The answer, as you'll see, isn't always who you'd expect, and it really forces us to look beyond the headlines.
Okay, first things first. Let's start with the story most of us already know. For years, the whole conversation around gender has been shaped by one powerful and very important narrative.
And you probably recognize this, right? For decades, the fight for gender equality has, for very good reasons, focused on the systemic hurdles that girls and women face, whether it's in school, at work, or just in society as a whole.
But that picture gets a whole lot more complicated when you start to layer in other huge factors like economic class and race. As soon as you do that, the image of who's really struggling starts to shift.
And that brings us to our next point. What happens when we look at the data not from the top down, but from the bottom up? A really different picture starts to emerge.
Now this, right here, is the core of it. The dominant narrative isn't wrong, especially when you look at the top of the ladder. But when you look at the bottom, a completely different story pops up. The data is showing us that boys and men from less advantaged backgrounds are increasingly the ones finding it hardest to get ahead. We're seeing it in things like college graduation rates, where women are now way ahead of men, and in the heartbreaking rise of what are called deaths of despair, which hit men without a college education the hardest.
So how do we make sense of this? It feels like a contradiction, doesn't it? Well, there's a new framework emerging that's designed to help us understand this more complex picture. So let's define what this new gender economics thing actually is.
Here's the key idea. New gender economics isn't about erasing the challenges girls and women face. Not at all. It's about adding a new lens. It basically argues that for families with fewer resources, boys and girls often face different kinds of struggles. And if we want policies that actually help everyone, we have to recognize those differences.
The economist Miles Corak just nails it with this quote. He's saying, we need this new framework because the paths for boys and girls from poorer families can be so incredibly different, and that has huge consequences for their futures and their ability to climb that economic ladder. Okay, so we've got a problem and a new way to think about it. But you might be wondering, why does this matter to me? Well, the truth is this isn't a niche issue. The stakes are actually incredibly high for all of us.
You see, if we just ignore this, the consequences are pretty severe. These patterns of disadvantage for men at the bottom, they don't just magically disappear. They get passed down from one generation to the next. And this isn't just a men's issue. It's bad for families, it's bad for communities, and it holds back our collective efforts to build a society where everyone gets a fair shot. It becomes a massive roadblock to reducing inequality overall.
And let's be really clear here. We're not talking about a problem that some simple policy tweak is going to fix. No way. We're talking about deep, structural issues, and those demand a response that is just as serious and just as big.
Now, for a bit of good news. In a world that feels more politically divided than ever, this issue actually presents a rare and maybe surprising opportunity. It could be an unlikely bridge for action from both sides of the aisle.
So where's the opportunity? It's right there at the intersection of two huge issues, gender and the economy. Because this problem touches on both, it creates this unique chance for people who usually disagree to actually find some common ground.
Let's break that down a bit. On one side, you often have conservatives who are really concerned with the specific challenges that boys and men are facing. On the other side, you have liberals whose primary focus is often on reducing broad economic inequality. Well, this single issue speaks directly to both of those core priorities.
And that is the bridge. It means the conservatives who are worried about boys and men have to also get serious about the economic inequality that's holding them back. And for liberals, it means that if you're really serious about fighting inequality, you have to pay more direct attention to the boys and men who are falling the furthest behind.
So, the path forward starts to look a little clearer, doesn't it? Step 1, we have to acknowledge that the standard story on gender, while important, is incomplete. Step 2, we have to recognize the reality that men at the bottom really are falling behind. Step 3, we use the lens of new gender economics to see the whole messy picture. And finally, step 4, we use that shared understanding to work together and tackle inequality for everybody.
And that leaves us with a final, pretty powerful question to think about.
Could focusing on the men who are most left behind actually be the key to unlocking real progress on inequality for everyone? It's a challenging thought, but definitely one worth considering. Thanks for tuning in.